In this video, I will introduce you to the CSS Border Property and how it works. The CSS Border Property basically allows you to specify the style, the width, and the color of an element's border. So you define the border for an HTML element by specifying the style, the width, and the color. The border style property specifies what kind of border to display. There are different types of borders. Example include dotted borders, so the borders will appear dotted. You got dashed borders and solid borders. There are a lot more, but these are just some basic example of the different styles of borders. A border has 4 sides, so you can specify to apply styles, the border styles, to different sides of the border, or you can just apply one style to all the 4 sides of the border. There's also a border width property, which is used to specify the width of all the 4 borders. And when you're setting the width of the borders, you can set it in pixels, in points, in centimeters, in and any other measurement value you want to use. But most people or developers tend to use pixels a lot. We also have the border color property. The border color property basically is used to set the color for all the 4 sides of the border. I'm going to illustrate by creating a border for the body element. So this is the body element here, so I'm going to create a border around it. But before I do that, I want to set a width for the body element. I want to give it a specific width. So I'll go into my CSS, and I've already got a body property here that I've applied some styling to. I'm just going to add to this style rule here. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to set the width. I want to give it a width. So I'm going to set the width. This will determine how wide my body element will be. I'm going to set this to say 600 pixels. And now I'm going to apply a border. And the border, I'm going to set it to have a pixel value of 4 pixel wide. I want the border to have a black color, and I want the border to be solid. So I'm going to be using the border style property, the border color, and the border width. So to do that, I'll just type in border. I'll do the colon, and next I'll specify, I'll start with the width. I'll make it say 4 pixel. This is the width of the border. Next, I want it to be solid. This is the style now. So it's going to have a solid style. Next, I want the color, border color, to be black. So I'm using 3 properties here. The width, which is this one here, the style, and then the color. So that's it for my border. So I'm just going to save that and see. Let me expand this so we can see. You can see we've got a border around it now. Also, you can see because I set the width to be 600 pixels, this content here is the body content, which is all the elements inside the body element. So I've given it a width of 600 pixels, so all hence is wrapped around the main HTML. This one outside here is the main HTML, what I want to do, I want to apply a color to the body so that it differentiates it from the actual parent HTML container. So I'm going to come here inside the body element. I'll type in background color, which is this one here, and I'm going to give it, I'll make it yellow. So I've given it a background color yellow. You can see it's reflected already. So if I expand this, you can differentiate the body content from the rest of the HTML, which is the actual document itself. This bit here is the HTML, and the yellow bit here is the body content, which is all the elements inside the body area of the HTML element. If I go into my HTML code, so you can see the body element is highlighted. So all this here is the content represented in this yellow background. And then the HTML is from here. That's the beginning HTML, and that's the ending HTML. The whole document is the HTML, which is represented by the other color here, this color here. All right. So we can see by adding the border has applied to all the 4 sides of the border. Border has 4 sides. So you've got the top, the right, the left, and the bottom. In this video, I explained how the CSS border property works, and we use the border color property. We also use the border width property and also the border style properties. Thank you for watching. Title. I've already applied some basic styling already, but I'm just going to add more to enhance the page title. So this is the page title at the moment. It just says hello world, and this is the styling I've already applied to it. It's got a font size of 65 pixels. I've aligned the text to the center. So I'm going to add a margin. I'm also going to add some padding. I'm going to give it a color, and I'm also going to apply text shadow properties. So you may notice there's a gap here at the top of the body from the page title. Basically, this happens because the web browser applies its own default styling to the H1 element. It also, not just to the H1 elements, it does that to other elements as well. So even when you haven't applied any CSS at all, there is some basic default CSS that the web browser applies. So that's why it's important to add your own CSS to override that. So let's get rid of this gap here at the top. To do that, I'm going to set the margin to 0. So inside my H1 element here, I'm going to type in margin, which is this here, and I'm going to set that to 0, and that should get, you can see here, it's got rid of that space, the massive space at the top of the body element. It's got rid of that. So that's what that does. The next thing I'm going to do is apply padding. So padding refers to the space inside the element content. So I'll type in padding, and I'm going to give it 2 values. I'm going to make it 20 pixels and 0. So when the padding has 2 values, the first value is applied to the top and the bottom padding, and the second value is applied to the left and the right side padding. So 20 pixels will go to top and bottom, while 0 will go to left and right. The next thing I want to do is give my title, I want to give it a color, a unique color. So color is different from background color. Background color It's this one here. It applies to the background. So color, if you want to change the color of a text, the property you use is color. So I type in color, and I want to make this, let's look through the colors they have here. I want something sky blue, something deep sky blue. All right, I like this one, so I'll make it deep sky blue. You can see it there. That's the deep sky blue. Just gonna save that. Okay. One good thing about this editor is that as you make changes, it reflects straight away in the web browser, although it doesn't actually save it until you save it, but it can enable you to see the impact of your CSS immediately. The next property I want to add is called a text shadow. What that does, it applies a text shadow to the text content of the element. It basically has 4 values. So to add a text shadow property, I just type in text dash shadow, and I'll give it the values. I'll make this 3 pixels, 3 pixels, 1 pixel, and give it a black color. So you can see the effect of the text shadow. You can see it here, how it impacts on the title. So let me go through the values with you. The first pixel value, which is this one here, the first 3 pixel, the first pixel value sets the horizontal offset of the shadow from the text. Basically, it indicates how far it moves across. A negative value should move it to the left. Now, the second pixel value, which is the second 3 pixel here, is used to set the vertical offset of the shadow from the text. How determines how far it moves down. In the example I've given, a negative value will move it up. The third pixel value, which is the 1 pixel, is used to set the blur radius of the shadow. All right, gives it a kind of blur. A bigger value will mean it gives it a more blurry shadow. And then the fourth here, which is black, which is a color, it sets the base color for the shadow. You can see the base color is, I've set it to black, but you can set it to anything. So that's basically the values for this text shadow property. You can try experimenting yourself with different values to see, just to see what you come up with. It's always good to try and play around with different values and see what takes your fancy. So in this video, I played around with some CSS for our page title, and I applied some extra CSS properties like text shadow. I gave it its color property. We applied padding and also some margin. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.